Coming up on Western Sports Roundup, the Summer Rodeo Run is well underway, and we are getting into another week of big-time rodeos like the Greeley Stampede and the Ponoka Stampede. We'll get you ready for everything you need to know on how they have already kicked off.
Hey, have you ever seen a girl spur one for 90? Well, the ladies are bringing it to the table tomorrow at the Austin Gamblers' next Gambler event. We're going to have a special guest tell us all about it, and you won't want to miss it.
And speaking of special guests, our good friend and colleague Michael Snow with Snow Knows will be joining us yet again to tell you everything you need to know to get Summer Rodeo Run ready, especially for Cowboy Christmas.
Here is Hayes Wade, Goshen, Utah. Come on, Hayes. Come on, Ponoka. We're going to ride it. We're going to ride it.
Well, howdy, and welcome into Western Sports Roundup on this beautiful Friday. I'm Kennedy Riggs here with Elise Sutherland, and we're ready for a good show. I think that if I had a dime for every time I said this, I'd be a rich woman, but I love this time of year, Elise.
I could not agree more. The Summer Rodeo Run is well underway, and we've kicked off a lot of rodeos that have a lot of money to get to, like our good friends at the Greeley Stampede in Greeley, Colorado. $250,000 is up for grabs, and they kicked off with performance number 1 last night, and it got started in a pretty good way, a couple good rides and some fast times. So let's kick it off in the bareback riding with Gage McKee. 83 points on a nice horse from Butler & Sons from Oklahoma. Nestia was the horse that he got to crawl on. Like I said, for 83 points. Number 2, Colton Farrow, 77. Cash Martin, 76. Jade Tatum, the Colorado man himself, 72 points, and 5th for 67. So it was kind of a tough night to get things kicked off, but we've got a lot of rodeo action left to get to.
That is true, and keep that in mind, right, because these are the numbers, but nobody's safe. So as of right now, like I'm going to say, Riley Duvall and Garrett Oates are sitting in that number 1 spot here in the steer wrestling, 4 seconds flat, both in the slack actually. So for their round 1 run, that's the fastest that we're seeing so far. They held their ground in the number 1 spot, but right behind them, a 3-way tie for 3rd place. Eli Lord, Rowdy Parrott, and Justin Schaefer. A stacked day sheet, to say the least, when it comes to the steer wrestling, the best of the best. And then we go to the team roping.
And that was just what we saw in the slack rounds when we were talking about those guys that were tied. That Boyd's 4-2 was the fastest of the performance tonight. Bodie Herring and Rio Nutter in the team roping right here. You're seeing a 6.1 second run for their first run that we have seen. This is going to be on an average as well. We've seen some really great runs. A 4-4 is leading round number 1, so they weren't too far behind, but a good way to get things kicked off, and we'll see them later on. The saddle bronc riding, Tucker Bourdais, 82.5. This is a good one to see for Wolf.
And what a fun one to watch. I'm just kicking back and enjoying this ride because that buckskin horse put on a show just as much as Tucker did. This is a guy that's great in and out of the arena, just a well-rounded guy. But when he hops on a bucking horse like this, you know that they're bound to take a win. And so he was the best of the night last night. 82.5, just half a point, by the way, in front of his friends in 2nd and 3rd place. So that was a great show, and the tie-down roping was just as good.
Yes, it was. Brush and Mitten, he's been to the big show before, to the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo, a 7.8 second run. Now, we've already been seeing quite a few fast runs here, but this one has really topped all of that. When you take a look at who's already been there in the slack, we've taken a look at what happens in the average, but Brush and Mitten, he came and he said, this is going to be my arena today.
And you know who else said that? Let's go to the breakaway roping. This is a gal that we're seeing a lot. We're going to see her more. There's no surprise here. Hayden Thompson right here with a fantastic 2-second run. I just want to throw in here, she also took the time on the road to write a song with AI alongside Martha Angeloni about breakaway roping, how it's breaking their banks, breaking their hearts. I don't know if she can complain after this, though. 2 seconds is pretty dang fast, so might give that a look. But it was Hayden Thompson in the breakaway.
And as we move into the semifinals, now these cowgirls, they had to make their first runs in slack, but to get into the performances, they had to be of some of the best. So Sierra Schlinker right here with a great horse, a 17.98 second run. That's currently leading, again, because this is with our semifinals as we get into the performances. That is the number 1 spot so far in what we have. But there's plenty of Greeley Rodeo action left to get to. We're just getting started. And of course, you're going to see it all right here on the Cowboy Channel with your Cowboy Plus subscription. Performance 2 gets kicked off at 3 o'clock Eastern.
She's a little more saddle up, heading out of town, little more moving on, hanging around, little more late night on the highway running. If you ain't heard
Wow. I mean, I can't think of a better way to get this show kicked off today than some Chancey Williams and seeing four-time world champion Haley Kinsel accompanying him in this music video. The roots run deep for the both of them in the sport of rodeo, and for him to make a song about this sport and to showcase one of our very own Haley Kinsel, the visual brings authenticity and adrenaline to the forefront, showcasing the grit, speed, and freedom that define rodeo culture. This isn't just a cameo. This is a natural extension of the song's message.
Absolutely. Saddle up. That was just released this morning. You can go catch that music video on Chancey Williams' social media platforms, as well as Haley's. Haley, love to see you on screen. She's not too bad on camera, so fun to see her in a different role there. But hey, we have a lot more coming your way. Up next on the show, this is what we have coming for you. Snow Knows. Mike Snow's going to join us and crunch the numbers for us as we get into the Cowboy Christmas season. It's just a week away, you guys, so there's a lot to come, and he's giving us a perfect preview.
And JJ Gottsch later on will be joining us on Western Sports Roundup to talk about their event this weekend, the next Gambler, their talent search, but they're adding some cowgirl action to the mix. This is just a taste of what's to come.
Western Sports Roundup is brought to you by Resistol, the official hat of the P.
Western Sports Roundup is brought to you by Rock and Roll Denim. Live boldly. Live in rock and roll denim.
There it is. There it is. Do it. Come on, baby. That's it.
Here is Hayes Wade, Goshen, Utah. Come on, Hayes. Come on, Ponoka. We're going to ride it. We're going to ride it.
Hayes Wade is ready on Smoke Show.
If you want to talk about a guy that's on fire, it's Hayes in Canada right now. And you can see that bull pulled him down, and he just sits up, pushes his hip, and he's going to fight for it. And there he goes. He's getting the whistle.
All over the country, there is so much money to be won, but Hayes Wade 1 year ago left Cowboy Christmas with more money than anyone has ever done before. Welcome into Western Sports Roundup. My name is Ely Sutherland alongside Kennedy Riggs. As we continue throughout the show, there's a lot of big things to talk about. We've talked about the summer run, but Cowboy Christmas, like we've been talking about, has so much money on the line. But our good friend Mike Snow and colleague is joining us with Snow Knows to talk a little bit about just how important Cowboy Christmas is. Thanks for being here, friend.
Yeah, this is a big stretch, and I think pound for pound, I know everybody loves the Texas swing. We'll throw out the NFR because that's obviously everybody's favorite. The end of the year with the bubble is very exciting, but pound for pound, I think this is the best week to be a rodeo fan because not only can you go and watch pretty much any rodeo you want over the next week or so when this thing kicks off on July 1st, but you get to see your favorite athlete compete 3, 4, 5, 6 different times over the course of that week too. So, yes, you brought up the money that's earned there. This is a really stressful week or so for these athletes because there's so much that goes into this week. I talked to Garrett Shadbolt last year at Reno, right before, right about this time actually last year, and he was traveling with Bradley Miller and Gavin French. And I talked to Bradley and Gavin, and I asked, hey, what's the nicest thing about having a veteran like Garrett in your rig with you? And they both said the same thing. They said, well, it's nice to have him enter rodeos for us over this next week because this is so stressful. Riley Webb said the same thing. This is a guy who's done everything. I know he's not a veteran in the sense of age, but he's a veteran in the sense of what he's done. He said, he told the ProRodeo.com, this is the most stressful part about all of this is just getting to the rodeo and making sure you're entered where you have to be. So there's a lot that goes on right now. There's a lot that goes into it outside of the money. It's a lot of fun over these next week or so.
Well, what's interesting is, like you kind of alluded to, this is not just survival of the fittest physically. We're looking at a lot of talent, but this is a big mental game for these athletes. So who do you think has been rising to the top recently? Who are we going to be looking at going into Cowboy Christmas this year that you think has their mental game on?
Yeah, I think there's a few guys that you can look at, and one guy that I really want to look at this year is Ty Harris. He's number 15 in the world standings right now, but we'll look at the top 5 earners here in just a second. But Ty Harris has 2 of the top 5 all-time earnings over Cowboy Christmas. There you see Hayes Wade. At least you brought that up. Last year, $52,000 earned. But right below that, Ty Harris, 2024 in second and fourth in 2023 with $40,000. Caleb and Jr. $47,000. Also, I got to bring up Trevor Brazil. There's been so much money added over the last handful of years. To see his record all the way back from 2011 still holding inside the top 5 shows how good he was. But Ty Harris is a guy right now, if he earns $40,000, which he's done, like I said, 2 of the last 3 years, if nobody else earned a penny, which obviously is not going to happen, that would jump him from 15th to 2nd place in the world. So let's say he gets $20,000, $25,000, $30,000. He's going to be comfortably inside the top 10. That's a guy that I look at year in and year out over Cowboy Christmas. He clearly feels good at these rodeos. He clearly loves the outdoor setups, and he clearly knows how to get entered and where he needs to be at what time. So yes, there's all these stresses, but Ty's clearly got it down pretty good.
There's such a strategy to all of this, and I like that Kennedy brought up the mental game as well. But honestly, it's kind of hard on the mental a little bit when you're on the outside looking in. We even have some world champions that are just outside of the top 15. Take me through who you think is going to be able to maybe jump back in there, because it's kind of stressful to be sitting just on the outside, especially going into Cowboy Christmas.
Yeah, Tucker Allen coming off the best year of his career, obviously getting that world title, and he's in kind of an uncomfortable spot right now outside of the top 15, outside of the top 25 at number 26 right now. So you can look at that one of two ways as you head into this moment with all of these rodeos coming up. You can say, all right, this first part of the season hasn't gone how I wanted it to. Let's turn it around right now. Let's get all of this money earned. And listen, he doesn't have to go out and earn $45,000. If he goes out and earns $10,000, $15,000, he's going to be right near that top 15 once it's all said and done. So, you know, you can mope, and I'm not saying Tucker's doing this at all, but you can look back at your season and kind of complain about how it's gone, or you not competing well. Maybe you're a little bit banged up, but I fully expect Tucker to come through and earn, you know, $15,000, $20,000 over this next week to 10 days, starting right now with Reno all the way through the end to the 8th. And he's somebody I look at. Another guy that I look at right now is Statler Wright. He's number 18 in the world, about $10,000, $15,000 out of that number 15 spot. He's going to jump up quick at some point. I fully expect him to be at the NFR. And I think when we look back at this season as a whole, we could say, okay, Statler really started to turn it around during that summer run. And he got everything kind of moving in the right direction. So those are the two guys that I'm looking at right now is, okay, yes, maybe they've struggled a little bit. Maybe they've been a little bit banged up. Get fully healthy, get back, and let's look at what they can do over these next 10 days, because I expect both of them to be really in the thick of it once it's all said and done at the end of the season.
Statler's looking really well in the Reno standings right now in the aggregate, so that could be a really good start. But I like that you've talked about the strategy, and we've talked about how much money. Some of these guys have not had the best couple of months, but also, speaking of strategy, some athletes that have gone to the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo regularly, they go to the Texas Swing and they kind of hang out at home for a little bit. They save their bodies, they save their horses. How important do you think that is? And we should probably be keeping a lookout for some of the standings to really take a shift, because some people have had to be going gung-ho since the season started, but some, they're just getting ready to crack back out, and it starts now.
Yeah, I mean, the most glaring case of this every year is Cassie Mowry. She just kind of decides where she goes. She shows up, she wins $15,000, she goes home for another month, and then she ends up in first place at the end of the regular season. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see these schedules, because it really is a grind. I mean, some of these guys want to go out and they want to break every record that there's ever been, and Riley Webb's a guy like that. Shad Mayfield was a guy like that. I know he's just returning now, but those are guys who hit the road really hard, and they know they've got to get out there and get to $200,000 to give themselves the best chance to win that gold buckle. But you look at guys like Rocker Steiner. Obviously, he's hurt now this year, but he's also a guy who didn't rodeo all that much because of the success he had in the Texas Swing and the winter indoor rodeos. That is huge for him. Now, again, this year, he'd obviously like to be rodeoing right now. He's $122,000. Bradley Miller is going to take him over here in the next probably day or two for that number one spot. But because he was so good in the winter, he still got a really good shot to make the NFR this year, and he'll be fresh. These guys who are out right now, you think of Wasey Shala as well. Yes, they're healing their main injuries, which is a leg and a neck for Rocker. All those other injuries are also healing up for them as well. So, you heal the big one, but all those small little bumps and bruises, they get healed up too. And then you talk about the horsepower for somebody like Cassie Mowry. She's not overrunning any of her horses ever. She's so particular and meticulous about where she goes, where she runs, and which horse she runs at each and every rodeo. And it's all thought out. It's also a strategy to not go to rodeos. I think people think the hardest part is, getting to every rodeo you can, but picking and choosing which rodeos you go to and which ones you don't go to, that's a huge advantage for some of these veterans as well. So yeah, I mean it's big. This is obviously a stretch where you can earn $40,000. This is also a stretch where if you get one big win and you get $15,000, you can kind of pull back on the reins a little bit and heal up, and whether it be your horsepower or yourself, kind of get you really ready for that final stretch of the season. Which obviously you got the playoffs, you've got the Governor's Cup, you got to be ready for those as well.
So, okay, we have those, like you said, that were able to take some time off because they had a good enough winter. But what about those injured, the rookies, maybe some underdogs even that weren't at those big indoor rodeos that have this chance right now to really make this count? There's so much money that is possible. That's why there are so many storylines yet to be made. What are some of those rodeos that they're going to have to prioritize to make sure that they can put their names up there in the top of the standings?
Well, that's the best part about this whole stretch is you've got 38 rodeos that you can go to from the 1st through the 8th. Obviously, you've got the big ones. You've got Red Lodge. You've got Oakley. You've got all those big ones. If you turn out, if you don't like your draw, if you don't have or if you just have a bad ride or you have a bad run, you've got an opportunity to get back on the road immediately and go find a new place to go. So obviously, it kicks off with Ponoka. I think if anybody could choose which of the rodeos they would win, Ponoka would be one of them because obviously, it pays out the most and it's a really cool rodeo to go out and attach your name to. So that would be a really good one. You can see the money right there, $465,000. It's the first one too. I mean, you're going to know if you're going to have a good Cowboy Christmas right away if you go out there and you win Ponoka. So you go out, you win that one. Maybe you decide you're going to take it easy. You go out, you struggle at that one. You've got 37 more rodeos to go to over the course of a 6-day period at that point. And you brought up the rookies. This is a very stressful time for somebody who's done this 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times like Riley Webb has. Now imagine you're a rookie. Now imagine you're one of the rookie bull riders. You can even throw John Crimber in there because the PBR, the way that works, you know where you're going months and months in advance. Right now, you're going to try and get to anywhere you can, and he's got a good rig that he's traveling with a couple other PBR guys. But again, there's not a lot of experience in the entering aspect for these rookies, and there's zero experience for some of those rookies as well. So that's a really interesting dynamic to watch. It's funny, we are out at Reno right now, our social team, and Lefty Holman got to the bronc riding 22 minutes before his ride, his chute opened. So that's the kind of stress that you're going to be under. You're going to hear a lot of those stories. We cover them all with our social team. We'll have somebody out, kind of out and with Damian Brennan and a couple of his traveling partners on our social team, just kind of showing everybody what it's like. But there's going to be a lot of, well, I just made it, so let's get on. Let's be at the rodeo for longer or for shorter than we've driven in the last hour. Get out and get to the next rodeo. It's a crazy dynamic that I think a lot of people probably don't understand really how stressful this can be.
Well, talking about stress, and you mentioned John Crimber, we're all kind of on the edge of our seats to see, does he do it this year? Is he going to win the national or the world title in the PRCA after he just won it in the PBR, right? But it's really like this is his chance right now. It's not just waiting to see if he makes the finals. This is critical this time. So is there anything that you want us to watch out for when it comes to John Crimber, maybe even anybody else with big storylines under maybe this time?
Yeah, I mean, listen, John is the guy to watch right now because he's got till August. That's when team starts. That's when everything gets back and ready and rolling for him. And that's obviously his number one priority. So he's got to be $150,000 or so by August. And, to set up that Titan match of Stetson Wright versus John Crimber at the NFR. And I talked about it a little bit last week. There's obviously a ton of other bull riders. Tristan Hutchings, the number one man in the world right now, who's been awesome. But it's tough not to try and write that storyline of John versus Stetson. But these next few weeks, this is when we will know what it's going to look like in December for John because he's just not going to have a lot of opportunities once that PBR team starts. The unfortunate part is he's going to every small rodeo he can get to. So these rodeos where an 84 would win it in the past, John is going in there. He's 88, 89 points on a bull that has no business being 89 points. He's taking $2,500 from somebody else and he's adding it to his pocket. So there's kind of a pros and cons. If you're in a small town rodeo, you might get to see John Crimber. If you're in a small town rodeo competing, you might have to compete against John Crimber. It's a lot of fun to watch him, but it's no fun at all to compete against it.
They're just out here stacking up checks and letting them fly. But thank you so much, Mike, for joining us to get us ready for the summer run and Cowboy Christmas. It's going to be really exciting, and I'm sure these storylines are going to unfold, and we'll have you back on the show to break them down even more. But thanks for being here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We will talk next week.
Snow Nose is the place to be here on Western Sports Roundup. But next on the show, we'll have JJ Gottsch here. We've got some Austin Gamblers action, but the Premier Women's Rodeo has a pretty cool connection to the PBR. JJ will be here next on Western Sports Roundup. Do you have what it takes to be an Austin Gambler? Well, we will see with the 3rd annual talent search hosted by the Austin Gamblers themselves. Welcome back into Western Sports Roundup. And there's a lot of exciting things happening in PBR teams. But before that gets underway, they, like I've said, are hosting their 3rd annual event with some added excitement this year as well, maybe getting some cowgirls involved. But joining us now to give us all of the information is JJ Gottsch, the president of the Austin Gamblers. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us today. Love talking bull riding, love being on Western Sports Roundup.
5 years in the PBR teams. You guys have had so much success. You're from Austin, and that's kind of where everyone comes together. You're actually in your offices right now, but we're getting ready for the 3rd annual, the next Gambler. This is such an exciting event, and you guys have had a lot of success in the past. For those at home that might not know exactly what's going to be taking place this weekend with the Taylor Rodeo, give us a little inside look on that.
Yeah, so the best way to describe it is think of like the American Idol or The Voice or The Ultimate Fighter, where you've got young up-and-coming athletes that are looking to make their mark, just need some more coaching and development and teaching. And what we do is we get 30 riders to come in, we break them up into 6 different teams, and then we have our current Austin Gamblers roster, our riders, Dalton Castle, Sage Kimsey, Kaiki Pacheco, Lucas Davino. They come in and they actually serve as coaches and mentors for these teams and these young riders. They work with them before the event, during the event, and then sometimes creating relationships that last long beyond this event. So these 30 riders, they compete on different teams, and then ultimately with the winner, the winning team, and the overall winning rider gets a chance to be on the provisional roster of the Austin Gamblers. So going into our 3rd year, it's been a great event, a fun partnership with Taylor Rodeo out at the Williamson County Exposition Center. It's just been a great kickoff for us as we get ready for this PBR team season every year to be able to host another event in Central Texas, because each one of the PBR teams, we only get to host one home event each year. So to be able to bring another event in or around our market is always fun. And this year we've got something extra special planned as well.
Well, yeah, that's what I was just about to ask you about. How cool is this? The world has never really seen women's bull riding like it's seeing right now. You know, the PWR just put a showcase on not too long ago. Now you guys are pulling the PWR and women's bull riding into the mix. So what's that going to look like tomorrow?
Well, we're very excited about this. Obviously, the growth in women's sports throughout everywhere, from basketball and soccer and softball and everywhere else. You've just seen an explosion of women's sports. And so for us, we've obviously seen that in Western sports as well, as you talked about with the PWR and what they're doing in and around Fort Worth. And so we've got a new relationship that we formed with Johnny Jonkowski, kind of the Billie Jean King of bull riding. We met her at the premiere of her documentary, Johnny, back in Billings, and started a relationship with her and trying to figure out how we could incorporate her into some of the things that we're doing, how we could help tell her story of her grit and dedication to the sport. And so we started to come up with an idea of creating a women's event within the next Gambler that would be a part of it, separate from the men's event. And through a separate relationship we got with Jordan Halverson, we came up with an idea to have this 5 to 6 person competition, different women coming in to compete for a championship at the next Gambler with a great sponsor with OptiWise. And so we talked to Johnny. She said, we'd love to do it. She's going to be our honorary coach. Jordan's going to be riding with Emily Crowder, Raven McCallum, Samantha Sullivan, Lily Woods, and Renata Nunez. But the great thing is that after we announced this, I got a call pretty quickly from the PWR saying, hey, that's awesome. We'd love to be a part of this as well. We're going to go ahead and give the champion of your event an exemption into the PWR championship.
I just think that's one of the most exciting things, especially with Lindsay Rosser-Sumter calling you herself and saying, hey guys, we want in on this too, because that just truly shows how many people are coming together and wanting to bring more of this women's bull riding to light. And working with someone like Johnny Jonkowski, it's really cool to bring someone with such history in the sport to a team that is already creating such great history like the Austin Gamblers.
Yeah, I'll be honest, when Lindsay called, I was scared. I thought I did something wrong. And she's like, hey, I just heard about this. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Did we do something wrong? She's like, no, this is awesome. So to be able to partner with Lindsay and the PWR and to be able to partner with a legend like Johnny Jonkowski and Jordan, who everybody knows and what she's doing in the sport, just, you know, it's about grit and dedication and courage. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. And so, you know, to see her and the group of women that she's competing with week in and week out, to be able to shine a light on them and to be a part of that, to help grow that sport and grow the sport in general. Here domestically, and then what we've been doing internationally. It's just a part of what we've been doing, and we're just really proud to be able to associate with all those groups of people.
So you mentioned internationally. You also mentioned Kaiki Pacheco behind the scenes coaching. Renata Nunes, one of the women's bull riders coming this weekend. There obviously is a lot of Brazilian influence when it comes to the PBR, but you guys have a special connection. So talk about maybe some trips you've taken recently. You might have missed a couple of baseball events because of this.
Yeah, we've got an amazing partnership with the country, and that's primarily because of our assistant coach, one of the true legends, the very first PBR world champion, first three-time world champion, Adriano Moraes. He and his entire family have welcomed us to the country, welcomed us to Brazil. We just took our 4th trip down there, and it's a great trip. Each year we go down, we fly into Sao Paulo, we go up to Adriano's ranch. We spend 2 or 3 days there. We do team bonding and team building. We don't ride bulls, but we do let the guys just kind of cowboy a little bit. We actually go into town and play soccer. Then we go into Americana, and we compete on the PBR Brazil Iron Cowboy event there at the big Rodeo Festival. And so we did that again this year. But the big thing this year is, as we all know, very special year in America. We're going to be celebrating our 250th anniversary. And so we partnered with the U.S. Consul General in Brazil, and we were actually official envoys for the government, representing not just the Gamblers, not just PBR teams, but America and American sports and Western sports. And so we got to go down there and literally and figuratively wear the flag, bring the flag down there, and participate with the Consul General as we celebrated America at the Americana event in PBR Brazil. And then on our way out, we stopped in Sao Paulo. We actually got to have a barbecue at the Consul General's residence. Wow. And it was just a great opportunity for us. They're really excited to be able, because even they didn't know how strong the connection was between Brazil and America, Western sports and bull riding. And so they're very excited. They're in our corner now. They want to continue to help us grow the sport, not only here in America, but in Brazil. We flew some PBR judges down there to help work with and train the judges in Brazil. So it was just every trip to Brazil has always been special. Obviously, the connection with Brazilian riders on our own team with Lucas and Kaiki and Adriano. But to be able to bring guys like Dalton Castle, and for 2 guys, Sage Kimsey and Callum Miller, is their first time ever. And so to be able to do that, it was amazing. And if we've got a second, I'll tell a quick story on Sage. He wasn't planning on riding. He was resting up for the season. He got on a charity bull or a bounty bull, and it was the PBR Brazilian Champion Bull from the year before, in support of a cancer hospital there. Wow. And by him getting on and riding that bull successfully, he helped raise over $300,000 for that cancer hospital. So just a really special trip and another opportunity for us to expand not only the Gamblers brand, but PBR and bull riding in Brazil.
Wow, Sage and his family have a heart as big as Texas, Oklahoma, and Brazil, it sounds like. What an incredible experience you guys had. But this was also history. This is the first time bull riding has been included in the U.S. government sports diplomacy program. And I like to ask people, when you were making history, if you knew that that's what you were doing, but you just participated in a very historic moment. Can you kind of go a little deeper into how personally this was for you to realize that you were a part of something so historic?
Well, it's interesting because I'm a student of history. I love American history. I love Texas history. And so just by nature of that and how special this year is in 250 years. So to be able to just celebrate that and be alive when we're having our 250th birthday was amazing. Then to be able to go down there and to be able to represent, again, America and PBR and the Gamblers was really special. But being there, I think at the event, it felt more like we were just hosting someone at a regular PBR event. And We took the Consul General. We took him down to the shark cage. We took him behind the chutes. He had never been there before, and he became this massive fan. And so that was all great, but it was in our natural environment of being at an arena and hosting someone. It really wasn't until we went to the Consul General's house in Brazil, and we were guests of his there. And Adriano Moraes, who's got a heart as big as Brazil, came up to me. He put his hands on both my shoulders. He said, "Boss, I can't tell you how much this means to me and my family. This is one of the greatest days of my life. If you would have ever told me that I would have been in this residence here today to help celebrate America's 250th birthday with the Consul General, I would have told you were lying." And so at that point, I really realized how special it was and how special of an opportunity it was, not just for Adriano and his family, but for all of us to be there. And it was just so warm and so welcoming. And I think really all of our team really appreciated it. And I don't know that we really understood how big of a deal it was until we were there that day. And so to be able to experience that will be something we'll never forget.
Wow. So I truly am speechless.
Wow,
if you've ever
same.
wondered, what does it take to create world peace? Look at the Austin Gamblers. You know, you're breaking gender barriers. You're breaking international barriers. And I could not be more proud of what you've been doing. So congratulations for such amazing things. And thanks so much for joining us today, JJ.
Thank you so much. We love the show. Keep doing what you're doing.
Lots more to come. Coming later on the show, this is a gal right here that you want to know about. Jill Tanner has made a huge comeback in the 2026 season after taking quite a bit of time off, almost a decade, but she's back on her game, and we'll bring it all to you.
And next on Western Sports Roundup, Ponoka Stampede has nearly $500,000 up for grabs. We'll tell you how it kicked off just last night.
The famous Ponoka Stampede, which this year celebrates 90 years. Lots of top bronc rides. One came from Kyle Wanchuk of Stettler, 4.4-second steer wrestling run. Rockyford's Griffin Kester made it 86 points. Lots of energy and excitement in the air as kicks off that time of the year that Cowboys love when they get to rodeo every day of the week. And the richest stop of Cowboy Christmas in Canada, of course, is the famous Ponoka Stampede, which this year celebrates 90 years of pro rodeo. And the first performance, lots of great action. The bareback riding saw only a single qualified bareback ride, and that came from Bucky McAlpine of Two Hills. He rode C5 Cinnamon Valley to 78.25 points. Stettler, Alberta Cowboy, and all-around champion of the past, Riley Warren was fast man in the tie-down roping with a 9 flat time. He's also leading on two-head at 20 seconds even. Ponoka is saluting cowgirls this year, and no better way to do that than boost the prize money. BC breakaway roper Fallon Thompson hopes for a piece of that $45,000 purse after making a 2.5-second run to go very well with her swift run in the morning, so she leads overall with a 6 and 2. Newlywed Wyatt Wilson of Rimbey hopes for some honeymoon cash after a 4.4-second steer wrestling run, best of the night. Lots of top bronc rides with a pair of 86.25s that were best of the bunch. One came from Kyle Wanchuk of Stettler on C5's hangover face. Lisa Zahoda set the pace in barrel racing when the Foothills Cowgirl rounded the pattern in 17.35 seconds. Also, just a lone qualified score in the bull riding, Rockyford's Griffin Kester made it count on to the tune of 86 points on Tuffy time. A lot more great action to come here at the 90th Ponoka Stampede. I'm Diane Finstead.
Thank you so much to Diane for that. A lot of big things happening this year. 90 years, but it's also the year of the cowgirl, and they were able to reunite some of the royalty that have represented this historic rodeo. All that they could bring back, including our very own Katie Lucas. She was the parade marshal, and they are getting showcased during this year's rodeo. Our good friend Alicia Erickson also up there as well, another former Miss Rodeo Canada. The both of them are a lot of fun to be had in Ponoka, Alberta, and I can't think of a better way to spend it.
So that's what's going on in Canada, right? But what do you say we talk a little bit about the US of A? This is what just is happening right now. It's unfolding as we speak. Rodeo 250 is underway in our own nation's capital, Washington, D.C. This is the Department of Agriculture's official way of celebrating 250 years of the United States of America, showcasing the history of not just rodeo, but Western culture as a whole, where it comes from the vaqueros to the American cowboy of the 1800s. So much fun stuff. And Justin McKee's there. He's going to give us a little closer look.
Thank you, guys. Yes, right here on the National Mall in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, part of Freedom 250. And Donald Trump, he wanted a state fair feeling. If he wants it, he gets it. And that's what we are in the middle of. And let me tell you something. This is a rodeo exhibition. It's not a full-fledged rodeo. This is really the story. It's a pageant, a story of the evolution of the cowboy from our earliest days, gaining our traction from the vaquero roots and the charros of yesteryear, through the pioneers and settlement and the Wild West and the trail drive era, all the way into modern day rodeo. It's a story about the horse and the connection that we have as humans, the love that we have for the horses and as a centerpiece of rodeo. And then we buck a bronc and we buck a bull, and yesterday was the first day of 14, and it was received unbelievably well. Of course, we're on the National Mall. The Washington Monument is over there behind the camera. The Capitol building is over my shoulder right here. And it's just a spectacular opportunity to tell our story, grow the sport. We've been meeting a lot of people here in D.C. of influence that are completely taken by what we do. And it's just been a great experience altogether. I'll try to keep you updated as we go along. I'm only here for 4 days before I go to St. Paul, Oregon. But so far, so good. I'm Justin McKee from our nation's capital in Washington, D.C. at Rodeo 250.
Thank you so much to Justin for that. You know, the sport of rodeo is still the only sport in the country that we still honor God, celebrate our freedom, and get a history lesson all in one arena. We're certainly glad to have Justin McKee as our boots on the ground. What an experience he's having.
So cool. And Survey Rodeo, you guys are a great representation of the sport of rodeo as a whole too. So that's who's bringing the stock there. Like you said, an exhibition, they're getting to see a little bit of rodeo, but really where the cowboy's coming from. So what a neat thing. Hey, coming up next though, a very beautiful story of a beautiful gal too. This is Jill Tanner. We're going to talk about her big comeback as a mother and as a breakaway roper. Up next, Alex Riley joins us to tell us all about her.
When these breakaway ropers backed in the box tonight, we knew we were going to see something special. Some of the toughest competition ever here at the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo. How proud are you to be the one that rose to the top?
Oh, I'm honored, very honored.
And I know for you, this moment is a little bit bittersweet, but I know you've got someone very special watching over you tonight.
Yeah, I do. I told y'all last night that we lost my mom unexpectedly recently. And I've always been more about my faith behind the scenes and talking to people behind the scenes, but that experience has made me want to make sure everyone knows my God and my Jesus.
Wow, nothing better than that. That's Jill Tanner right there with such a cool story. And that story's still unraveling right now. It's in the works. And we're here to cover it, as well as our own friend, Alex Riley from Rodeo on Sports Illustrated. We're so thankful, Alex, for our partnership here because you've been bringing us so many cool stories from behind the scenes like this one exactly. So, Jill Tanner, how was that getting to know her?
Yeah, it was great. I called her and we were on the phone for about 45 minutes and it really jumped in to kind of everything, not just what's happened, in the arena, but what's happened, in life and how she's kind of gotten to this place. And just a fascinating story, connected to rodeo for a long time, kind of, stepped away from the breakaway roping for a while, but has found her way back to it and is really having a heck of a season this year.
She really has, and with so much money, nearly $50,000 already won. We're taking a look at what she got done there at Fort Worth, and that was almost $30,000 right there. But you talked about how she's been around the sport for a very long time. Her dad's been to the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo. He's a world champion. Her husband has been to the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo as well, and she has also been so successful as a professional breakaway roper. How do you think that her role in her background, but also being very family-oriented, has helped push her to the success that she has right now?
Yeah, it's fascinating. When we talked about it, she's 40 years old old as of this month. When I talked to her, she was a couple days away from turning 40. And, when she got out of college, breakaway roping wasn't something that you could turn into a professional career like you can now, like you see at the level that it's at. So she kind of stepped away from it. Like you said, she'd been around roping her whole life. Jimmy Cooper was an all-around champion back in 1981. Her husband, Jimmy, is a team roping NFR average winner before. Her brothers, Jake and Jim Ross, have both been to the NFR. So it's not like she hasn't been around roping. She was a competitive roper, but started focusing on barrel racing just so she and her husband could travel together and she could compete at the same kind of rodeos that he was at for the PRCA level. And then all of a sudden, breakaway started, building. It started getting to this point where you could make a living. It was starting to be at some of the big rodeos. So she decided to get back into it. And I think one of my favorite lines from the story was, she said, basically, I stunk. I hadn't swung a rope competitively in almost 20 years and couldn't do it at the level that I needed to be competitive. It took a while. Even when she won the American in 2021, she finished 221st in the world that year, despite winning the American. So it's taken a while to get back to this level, and you're kind of seeing the fruits of that hard work pay off now.
So she alluded to this in her interview with Katie that was so emotional. She lost her mom tragically and unexpectedly at that. So that was in December. Then rewind to February, she's winning Fort Worth. Something as tragic as that and life-changing can either make or break someone, especially in the performance world. So what do you think it was about that experience? What did she have to say about it that she decided to take in a positive direction? How was she able to do so?
Yeah, that was a big moment for her and her family. One of the things that we talked about is the fact that they've all kind of relocated to Stephenville together. Her dad lives a mile down the road in one direction. One of her brothers lives about a mile down the road in the other direction. And they all kind of meet at the house every night to eat dinner and hang out. Visits are expected. So to lose her mom in the way that she did so unexpectedly was really difficult. And she alluded to that. She talked about it. She talked about it in her interview there after winning. And it was something that she wanted to do. She wanted to get back in the arena. She wanted to be competitive, and she wanted to do it for her mom. And I think that's what made Fort Worth so special for her. She said, I had a hard time keeping it together. All those interviews afterwards, whether it was on TV or reporters talking to her afterwards, she said it was really hard to keep it together, but it was an emotional moment for everybody, and certainly one of those moments that can spark you forward to the rest of the season.
And speaking of the rest of the season, number 8 in the world right now, like I said, nearly $50,000, $46,945 later, and she's just continuing to go down the road. The summer run is well underway. We've already talked about the exciting things right here on Western Sports Roundup, but she's also having to go through being a mom as well, and it's kind of an unconventional year for her, but she's having so much success. How is she planning to schedule out the rest of the summer and still show up for her family as well?
Yeah, that's the fascinating thing I kind of mentioned in the article. There's so many cowboys and cowgirls right now who are literally loading up schedules. They are booked up consistently every day for the next couple months. And she's kind of the opposite. She's like, I'm gonna drive here, I'm gonna compete, and if I need to fly back home, I'm gonna hop on a plane, I'm gonna let somebody else take my horses. She's wants to be a mom first. She's got a kid who wants to play soccer, who wants to rope at the junior level, and she's going to put that as the priority. She's entered up at all the big places that you would expect. It's actually funny, the story published this week, I did the interview about a week and a half or so ago. The story published this week, she didn't compete at all last weekend. Her money earnings actually stayed the same. She dropped a spot in the standings from when I started writing the story from 7th to 8th because she didn't go out this weekend. And that's just how she's approaching things. She wants to be a mother, a wife, a daughter first, and worry about the other rodeo stuff later. If she ends up in Fort Worth for the breakaway finals, that's great. If she's in there competing for a championship, that's awesome. But if not, she's perfectly content doing what she's doing the way she's doing it right now.
She's such an inspiration, and props to you for writing an article bringing this story to the forefront, because I just foresee a lot of people in her shoes, maybe going through loss or even juggling that work-life balance, even like myself, drawing inspiration from her. So thank you so much. This was such a neat story.
Well, it's fascinating too. Not only is she doing it from the mother's perspective and the daughter's perspective, the wife's perspective, all that, but also there's another element to it with breakaway roping that I found interesting over the last couple of years. I actually did a story last year on a breakaway roper named Shiloh Knapp, who is a 40-year-old rookie, literally competing in the Resistol rookie race with young women who were in their 20s, in their teens with her, and she's 40, already got a couple kids, and it's because a lot of them had stepped away from breakaway for a while. So we're finding some of these fascinating stories in breakaway. You're probably not going to find a 35-year-old show up in the middle of bareback riding all of a sudden that hasn't been competing at least at some level before. But the breakaway is definitely interesting with the competitors that we're seeing, and Jill's story is certainly one that I enjoyed writing.
Jill does have a wonderful story, but I like what you brought up about so many other people. But speaking of the stories you've been writing, you've got a lot coming up the pipeline. We'll talk a little bit about bareback riding the next time we have the chance to see you, but I know you're busy and have more interviews to conduct. But thank you so much, Alex, for joining us here on Western Sports Roundup today yet again.
Absolutely. Thanks, y'all, for having me.
Talking about an incredible Jill Tanner. You can check out that interview and that article on Rodeo on SI. Jill Tanner's story is one you don't want to miss. Next on Western Sports Roundup, we're going to wrap it all up and have just a little bit left to get to before we say goodnight.
It's time for our top 3 headlines brought to us by Vetericyn Clean Treat Heal. And Cowboy Christmas is just a few days away. Earlier on the show, Mike Snow joined us to crunch the numbers and give us a look at those stories that are unfolding right before our eyes. Some world champions in the making. It all happens right here, and we talk all about it.
And the PBR team Austin Gamblers are searching for their next star, the next gambler at the 3rd annual event they're hosting in Taylor, Texas. But they're also joining forces with the Premier Women's Rodeo to showcase some talented female bull riders. And speaking of talented cowgirls, the Ponoka Stampede has been underway in Alberta, and it's the year of the cowgirl, and they're paying tribute to some special cowgirls up there, just like our very own Katie Lucas. We've had a big day here on Western Sports Roundup, but that's going to be wrapping everything up, and we're going to do it all again next week. But we've got Reno Rodeo coming up later on this evening with Kennedy Riggs, but that's going to do it for Western Sports Roundup. I'm Elise, that's Kennedy. Good night.